If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we don't mind, remain standing for a moment of silence. Keep the family of Jen Willie from up to 20s in our prayers, who recently passed away. Thank you very much. Time is allotted at the end of each meeting for the commissioners to receive comments from the public. We have some consent items here. We have a regular session minutes dated April 16th, 2024. We have liquor minutes dated April the 16th, 2024. We have Democratic Club of Kent County applying for a raffle only for May the 14th, 2024. We have Women's League of Washington College raffle permit application dated May the 28th, 2024. And we have Bill Mackey, Director of Planning, Housing, and Zoning, with Maryland Environmental Service Stormwater Management Memorandum of Understanding, a mandatory agreement. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Now, first up, we have, it's our privilege to have three proclamations with us today. First is proclamation is for Elks National Youth Week, and we have Alan Schauber, who is the ER at our local lodge. You want to say a few words or anything you want to address, say first before we read the proclamation?
We do a lot of things with children and veterans. A couple things with kids is we have a hoop shoot and we have a soccer shoot. And the hoop shoot, we actually did have a couple state winners. So if there's anything that anyone in the community thinks that we need to do for kids, please let us know. Thank you.
Very good, Alan. We have Kent County, Maryland proclamation entitled Elks National Youth Week, May the 1st to the 7th, 2024. And it reads, whereas the Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks has designated May the 1st to the 7th, 2024 as Youth Week to honor America's junior citizens for their accomplishments and to give fitting recognition of their services to community, state, and nation. And whereas the Chestertown Elks Lodge number 2474 will sponsor an observance during this week to tribute to the junior citizens of this community, and whereas no event could be more deserving of our support and participation than one dedicated to these young people who represent the nation's greatest resource, and who in the years ahead will assume the responsibility for the advancement of our free society. And whereas our youth need the guidance, inspiration, and encouragement that we alone can give in order to help develop those qualities of character essential for future leadership and go forth to serve America. And whereas to achieve this worthy objective, we should demonstrate our partnership with youth, our understanding of their hopes and aspirations, and a sincere willingness to help prepare them in every way for the responsibilities and opportunities of citizenship. Now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, do hereby proclaim May 1st to the 7th, 2024 as Elks National Youth Week, and urge all departments of government, civic, fraternal, and patriotic groups and our citizens generally to participate wholeheartedly in its observance. Signed, the County Commissioner of Kent County, Maryland, Ronald H. Fithian, President, Albert H. Nickerson, member, John F. Price, member, dated April the 23rd, 2024. And on behalf of the citizens of Kent County, it's our privilege to present you with this proclamation. I want to hand that. You want a picture?
Yeah, can do that.
Okay, we can do that.
Somebody take a picture because I don't have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we have a proclamation, Director of Land Use Policy, Eastern Shore Land Conservancy, Mr. Owen Bailey.
Yes.
Mr. Bailey, you want to come up and say a few words? We're just going to celebrate Trails Day from April the 27th, on April 27th, 2024, but
Yes, my name is Owen Bailey. I'm the Director of Land Use and Policy for Eastern Shore Land Conservancy, as well as the Chair of Eastern Shore Trail Network Steering Committee. Thank you for this proclamation. We've been working hard over the last year with the National Park Service to look at the benefits of trails and to advocate for more trails in our communities. And here in Kent County, we have some wonderful trails. The Gilcrest Rail Trail here in Chestertown, Eastern Neck Wildlife Refuge, the Sassafras National Wildlife Management Area. So we wanted to encourage everyone to get out this Saturday to enjoy the trails. We will be having two events, one here in Chestertown at Ajax Park on Saturday at 11 o'clock, and another one at Cypress Branch State Park in Millington at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
very good. Commissioner Nickerson will read the proclamation.
This is a Kent County, Maryland proclamation to celebrate Trails Day, April 27th, 2024. Whereas Celebrate Trails Day is an annual spring celebration of America's trails, started by Rails and Trails Conservancy in 2013. The celebration encourages people across the country to get outside and enjoy trails in their communities and explore trail system in their region. And whereas trails make accessing the outdoors by foot, bike, and wheelchair more accessible for everyone and are essential outdoor spaces that allow us to use active transportation, and whereas the Eastern Shore Trail Network is working with counties, municipalities, and the state to plan and develop safe facilities separated from vehicular traffic to encourage bicyclers, walkers, and physically challenged and other non-motorized users of all ages to be more active and spend time outdoors, thereby improving their fitness and health. And whereas the Eastern Shore Trail Network, by increasing access for both residents and tourists to natural, cultural, and historical sites, will bring health and economic benefits to the counties, municipalities, and businesses in the region, such as revenues to local economies, healthcare savings, enhanced real estate values, increased visits, and longer stays. And whereas Kent County is one of 8 counties committed to working toward the shared vision of connecting people and communities through a safe and sustainable Eastern Shore Trail Network. Now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2024, Celebrate Trails Day, and urge all residents to get outside and enjoy our trails. The County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, signed Ronald H. Fithian, President, Albert H. Nickerson, Member, and John F. Price, Member.
Thank you.
Would you like to have a picture?
Please. Said better myself.
And last but not least, we have an honoring and celebrating of the 100th birthday of Mary Roe Walkup. And we have a proclamation there, and Commissioner Price will read that aloud.
We have a proclamation honoring and celebrating the 100th birthday of Mary Roe Walkup, May 4th, 2024. Whereas the former Kent County Commissioner and Maryland delegate, Mary Roe Walkup, celebrates her 100th birthday on May 24th, 2024. Ms. Walkup was born in Kennedyville, Maryland, on May 4th, 1924, to William B. Groves, a farmer, and Catherine R. Groves, a teacher. In 1945, she graduated from the University of Maryland School of Nursing in Baltimore, where she met and married Harry E. Walkup Sr., MD, and had 4 children. And whereas Mary Roe Walkup began her involvement in local environmental issues and state and national political campaigns. Mary Rowe has always believed it's every American's duty to contribute towards good government, and whereas in 1978, Mary Rowe Walkup became the first woman elected to the Board of Kent County Commissioners and served 2 four-year terms. And whereas in 1994, Mary Rowe Walkup became the first woman elected to represent the 36th Legislative District in Maryland House of Delegates and served 4 terms from 1995 to 2011 until her retirement at age 86. And whereas, summing up her decades-long service as a voice of her constituents, Mary Rowe Walkup says being an elected representative is a humbling experience, yet exhilarating. It is exacting, but it is also exciting. It is a responsibility that we owe our county. Now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, hereby offer our admiration and our very best wishes and congratulations to Mary Rowe Walkup on her 100th birthday. Signed, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Ronald H. Fithian, President, Albert H. Nickerson, Member, John F. Price, Member, dated April 23rd, 2024. Happy birthday.
Maybe we should get a picture of us with our proclamation, and we'll make sure she gets a copy of it.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For our first appointment, and I apologize if I mess this up, but Liliana Chanette, is that how you pronounce that?
I think both you and my mom are mad with me because I married and divorced a Frenchman, so it's Chanette.
Chanette. Okay,
Have a seat, Liliana.
Thank you.
and you're a Public Affairs Specialist, Field Operations Center, East United States Small Business Administration, Office of Disaster, Recovery, and Resilience.
It's a handful. Yes,
Yes.
it's me.
Welcome.
Thank you. Honored Commissioners, Ms. Shelley Heller, I'm in awe about being here today because I've been doing this for 7 years for SBA, Disaster Assistance Program, that it's now called Resilience and Recovery. And I like to think that what I do makes a difference to the business community, to everybody that goes through disasters. And when I say disasters, it's not just, tornadoes and hurricanes, it's also a man-made disaster. It's, like shootings or, mass shootings that they happen, but also for an incident like the one that I'm representing today, which is the collapse of the K Bridge. That impacts a lot the local economy and the surroundings, states as well. Because the business community, it's all networked. And I'm here today with honor to represent SBA and to just bring to your information what's available from SBA disaster assistance to all these business communities that they were impacted. I'm gonna try to start a slideshow. I am not liking to read slides. I am a free talker, but but to continue to explain to you that like in, and enter this one. So at the request of the governor, after the collapse of the bridge, we are here on the ground to represent SBA and to give assistance to all the business communities. This is not like a presidential declaration that it's actually FEMA is involved and other federal agencies and it's, individual assistance offered. This is a governor's certification, and what SBA is offering in this instance is, it's an economic injury disaster assistance loan that we call it short EIDL. Everybody is probably familiar with the COVID EIDL program. This is the same kind of program, only applied to this particular incident. A governor's certification, it's when 5 small businesses, in a disaster have sustained substantial economic impact, and then it's submitted by the community and the governor requests, and then SBA signs a declaration, the administrator, and we come on the ground and see all the impacted area. It's a very peculiar situation in this case in Maryland because all the counties in Maryland have been declared, and all the surrounding adjacent counties in surrounding states have been declared as well. I think that they realize that the impact of, having the bridge collapsed and the traffic not continuing in the same format, it's going to impact in the next 6 to 8 months the economy in a form and fashion that's going to be necessary for us to step in and offer this kind of an assistance. So, like in every, governor certification, the filing deadline is always 9 months from the date that it was declared. And as you could see in the next slide, it just shows all the counties that they've been declared. The collapse happened on March 26th. The deadline for applying for these loans is December 30th of this year. So everybody that owns a business in every of the counties that they are on this slide and that they've been declared are entitled to come through the website. They don't even need to come to the centers or to SBA and apply for a loan. The loans are up to $2 million. It's called Economic Injury Disaster Loans, as it's explained in this slide. Not everybody's going to get the $2 million, but it has to be, you have to be a business that's in this area and that's been in business for at least a year before the date of the collapse of the bridge. You need to prove that this is economic impact that is due to this incident only and not for your other needs with the business. And we offer, of course, the low interest rate of 4% for these loans that are up to $2 million with no payments and no interest that accrues for the first 12 months after you sign the loan with us. This is help, I like to call it like, cash flow for businesses. It's a working capital for businesses that they've been impacted. And then it's an option. It's basically, that's all it is. It's an option for businesses. If they see in the next couple of months that the revenue goes down, then they could apply for this loan. There is no penalty for applying for this loan. There's no points on their credit score. There's no charges for applying for a loan. And it's a free, offer that it could be retained or it could be declined. So at no point do you have to take the loan. It also could be negotiated. A lot of people don't know that. So how is it actually fitting? A small business owner, moms and pops business, it's in the area, and it's been affected by the, collapse of the bridge because their suppliers are across the bridge or across the area that they've been, using the supply for. So in the next couple of months, they will see their revenue going down. And if they could prove, based on the comparison from last year's revenue to this year's revenue in the next 6 months, absolutely they could apply. If they get an offer for an SBA, loan, then they could just talk to the loan officer and say, I need more money or I need less money. You could negotiate the loan based on your needs. Let's say, for instance, to give an example, the same, moms and pops restaurant. And they will say, well, I had this kind of an agreement that came in effect before the collapse of the bridge. And this agreement, it was to bring all this tourism in the area, and I was secured that I will have my revenue increase this year. But because of the collapse of the bridge, the contract fail. So therefore, they could prove that, they need more money, right? In the next slide, it just talks about the loans and the perks of having a loan, okay? So no cost, no obligation. They could have an existing loan. So let's say that the same moms and pops, restaurant, they had a COVID loan. And they say, well, how could I get another loan on top of the loan that I have? How could I afford that? So what they would do, it's when it comes after the application process and they get to the loan officer, they will say, I do have a COVID loan. My situation since changed. I would like to change the terms of the loan. The loans could not be, compacted together, but they will see of the resources that this company has, this business owner, they will see what could be changed and they will adjust that. So that is very important for every business owner that applies with an idle loan to know that this is not fixed in stone and they could negotiate. Eligibility, we discussed briefly on that. It has to be, in this case, is no damaged property because no damages of personal property or real estate is taken in effect when it's an idle loan. Idle loan is basically economic impact only, so it's only financial, records that you have for your business from last year to now until the end of this year, so you could prove that it was based on the collapse of the bridge. They look at your credit history. We are a federal agency that has to obey by the laws of the federal credit. And the repayment, it's always a case because this is ultimately a loan and it's not a grant. So they need to prove that they could repay the loan. Everything that it's offered as an idle loan or any loan with SBA for disaster assistance, it's called an unsecured loan if it's over $25,000. So if it's under $25,000, it's considered a secured loan, and it's much easier to get because it's also much easier to prove that, you need that kind of money. Anything that is like in the $500,000 or up to $2 million, as we say, it needs to be documented, and the loan officer, of course, is going to look in detail what do you have to do in order to secure that loan. How to apply for the loan. This looks complicated, so don't get fooled by all these schematics that it's going to come in the next 4 slides. It's as simple as going to the SBA.gov, looking for disaster loan, getting to the website, signing into the portal because you need to sign with SBA. You look for the declaration as it shows in this slide. Then you go to searching for which disaster you're applying. So you're going to look for Maryland 28522, but it's going to come up under Maryland. And then you start, to select the declaration process, and everything gets self-explanatory. If you don't do this in 45 minutes, then you should come to one of the business recovery loans centers that we've opened, and then we could just show you how to do this, and we could pretty much hold your hand, show what documents you need, help you scan the documents in if it's necessary, and answer all the questions that you might have for the loan. So in this slide, it talks about, different declaration search, how you register with SBA, the slide. I don't think we're going to go in detail because we're not learning how to do the loan here. And what do you need in order to get the loan, right? So you need to have all your contact information. You need to prove that you are who you say you are. So all the identification documentation that you have to prove that you are that person and that you are the owner of that business. You have to have a social security number or a EIN number. Financial insurance like, income, balance sheets, monthly expenses, everything that you could think of that you could submit to prove, your loss. Complete copy of your most recent federal tax return. Date comes in effect while you need to have a business 1 year prior to the disaster because you probably filed taxes. And all the information from your insurance. We're going to go through this slide very fast because we're not applying for the loan. But a lot of people during the COVID and a lot of, we got a lot of criticism for people saying, well, it's too difficult. You guys have a system that, you need to scan documents and so on and so forth, not thinking that other federal agencies are involved in the loan process. Okay, so the first federal agencies that we're gonna go to, it's the IRS. So that's the reason there is a release form that you need to sign with SBA in order for you to show the financial documentation in your tax return from the IRS. That form alone, it has been, through the COVID process, it was very cumbersome. Why? Because it's scanned, it goes through an automatic process, and if the corner of the, sheet, it's not scanned properly, it's gonna be rejected by the IRS, and that delays the process, 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. What you need to know when you apply with a loan for us now, the good news is that we get a new system. So we used to have, in a different database, and this year we are on the ULP. This is automatic. Everything is gonna be automatic from now on. So you just need to have your documentation and follow the prompts. Understanding the service request and additional resources that you might have. In the packets that your honorable commissioner have, it's the press release and the fact sheet that it's from SBA for this particular declaration. I understand the county and also the city and emergency managers in all the areas affected, they've already made it public, all that information. To date, we have 3 centers that are open, 2 in Baltimore, 1 in Baltimore City and 1 in Baltimore County, and we just opened 1 in Anne Arundel County that serves directly with the public. We don't have it here in this slide, I apologize for that. However, you could get that information from the county. What do we do at the centers? We actually make sure that you could register with SBA. We make sure that you have all the documentations necessary, that you understand the process. We answer all the questions that you might have regarding this loan and regarding this disaster assistance. And then after we got you into the loan process, it's pretty self-explanatory on the website. You could always call customer service, you could email them. I'd like to think it's way easier than what it used to be. And at all time, we have partners on the ground that after we leave an area, they could help you. Who are these partners? SBA local office that deals with traditional loans, the SCORE, and the SBDC, Small Business Development Centers. They are actually certified by SBA to look into your documentation, to help you, lead you through the process. Of course, you need to make an appointment with them, and then you could just go there. That's why I say, if you do this earlier, when we just declared, and if you come to the centers that we offer, we are here on the ground, we answer your questions, we help you through the process, and you at least have a point of contact to begin with where you could start this, assistance. A lot of people say, I don't need a loan, I need a grant. I'm gonna apply for the grants that are available from the, state or from the local government, and there are a lot of grants out there, 5,000, 10,000, And so yes, it's a good way to do it and to start to, help your business. However, once those resources end and you are 6-8 months down the road and you see that your business is drowning, then you probably want to have this option in consideration. It's a limitation. The deadline, as I said before, is December 30th. Please apply early. Come to the center. We have a lot of partners, nationwide. You could just go to sba.gov local assistance and you could find out the location of our centers. And then you have the customer service number, 1-800-659-2955. You could always call and ask additional questions. Or you could email us. With that being said, I think I've been a little bit over the 5 minutes that I was allotted, but I am open to questions because I'm pretty sure that you might have some. I hope.
Well,
I did my job, good.
You did your job very well, and unfortunately, I think that this state is gonna need a lot of this. On a very small scale, about 6 days after the bridge collapsed, I had ordered I'm a contractor, some vinyl siding, and the excuse was my siding wasn't gonna be in because the bridge collapsed. I'm thinking, I don't know.
What does that have to do with my
But
side?
yeah, that's, but it did start me to think, oh gosh, this is just the tip of what,
Of the iceberg.
of what is probably gonna be coming, so. So it's a lot of good information. I'm glad that you came today. Thank you for coming. Unfortunately, we're probably gonna have a lot of people inquire about this.
Well, and that's when I offered with Ms. Heller, maybe we could just, in conjunction with the chamber, I could just come at any time. Well, as long as I'm here, maybe tomorrow I'm in Ohio, who knows? But, it depends. We could just do a webinar. The webinar could be recorded, and it could be used at a later date. That is a good resource for everybody that's gonna start asking questions closer to Christmas, and it's like, oh, the deadline is coming. I didn't know about this. So this is a good resource to leave behind. Regardless of our partners and all the information with you, I think a lot of people are gonna start calling you closer to December.
And I've put Liliana in touch with Jamie to distribute all the information far and wide on our social media. And if there's an event that we can coordinate, we're more than we're more than happy to do that. And as well, Sarah with the chamber also has Liliana's information, and hopefully we can coordinate some sort of event there.
Very good. Any questions, John?
No, keep going good.
Any more?
I have it. Thank you.
Thank
Very well
you.
done.
Thank you very much for coming in.
So you're not mad about my last name?
Dan Mattson, Public Works Director. And Mr. Jim Miller,
Good morning.
HR Director.
The first item, I'm just here for the first item, and it's to ask the commissioners for their consideration for a revision to the job description for the Deputy Director for Public Works. You have some notes in the Novus item, as Dan and I and Jen White have been going through the interviewing process and looking at candidates, and I'm speaking for Dan, but he could speak for himself. It became kind of clear to us that to structure the department the way Dan is looking to do going forward, there's some revision to the Deputy Director position, scope and responsibilities was necessary. So we've constructed a revised job description for your consideration, and in so doing, assuming that the description meets your approval, we also felt it appropriate, because we were making some modifications, that we reopen the recruitment effort internally. We think externally we've covered bases fairly well, but with making some changes to what the job is and what Dan needs in his deputy, we felt it appropriate for the internal staff for the county to get a look at what the new description looks like and see if there's anybody internally that feels they meet the qualifications and wants to submit a request for consideration. So that's what you have in front of you. Dan, anything?
No, I think you summarized it. I'm happy to go over any of the changes we made. But generally speaking, I think we've, throughout the job description, the word engineering did a lot of heavy lifting. So I tried to be more specific about the tasks and types of work and specific types of, it said things like engineering reports. It's a very vague term. I tried to list specifically what types of reports would be prepared so someone would know really what they're getting into. Same for contract management, things of that nature. So I'm happy to speak to any specific changes we've made, but yes, given the applicant pool we received so far, it felt worthwhile to make some changes and, as Jim mentioned, reopen it, at least internally, given that it is a revised description for people to consider.
So we've made this somewhat easier for someone to apply to, or clearer about their job performances.
Right, it would be crystal,
It's-
I would say
The
clarify,
clarity is
yes.
the
Right.
issue, yeah.
Yes.
and
How about the people that you interviewed already? I mean, were there any?
very promising candidates.
There were good candidates. None of them fully met the requirements, specifically, no one was a professional engineer. And so we looked at the fact that I am already a professional engineer, and we looked at really what role and what tasks would be asked of the deputy director, and we tried to modify this to more correctly fit how they would be used. So we did get good external candidates. This description, in our opinion, more closely reflects what will be done, and the external candidates we received do align better with this description as well. And then, given it is a change, as we mentioned, we thought it would be fair to reopen it internally.
Any questions?
Being you're a professional engineer, Dan, and we're changing that requirement of said candidate, what does that do in the event, not that I want this event to happen, but in the event that.
He wins the lottery. Right?
You
We're not
win the-
gonna do a negative event, we're gonna do a positive
Great
event.
idea.
Okay.
You win the
Thank
lottery
you.
and decide that you're not coming into work tomorrow ever again. What does that, how does that position the county?
I think that, well, one part of that answer would be that the director position would largely be, I would expect to be required to be a PE at that point.
Right.
In looking for a new director. On a day-to-day basis, in a short or interim period, I don't think it would substantially hinder things. Most of the very intricate or detailed engineering that is done via consultants, just because, the county doesn't have engineering design software available or different water, wastewater, stormwater calculation bit programs. I'm certainly in a position to do some field engineering and do that regularly as required. But generally speaking, I don't see a short-term hindrance until a new director would be hired, and then the new director would likely, the description would likely require an engineer.
I mean, I guess that's my hesitation, is as long as the county's not in some form of non-compliance, because we don't have.
Sure.
You know.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Don't play the lottery.
I don't.
Feel free to order that if.
Was the professional engineer requirement in there because we used to have a county engineer, and then the deputy director kind of grew out of that?
Exactly.
Okay, well, then I'll entertain a motion. If we have no more questions.
I'm going to make two motions. The first one will be a motion to approve and revise the job description for the Deputy Director of Public Works.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it.
The next motion will be to approve reopening the internal recruitment process for a period of 5 working days.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes, thank you.
Talk to you later.
All right, Dan, you got a couple more issues?
Yes, I do.
Items?
So the first one, the next item we will discuss deals with, I believe, Bike Week 2024, Bike Fest 2024, which is an event proposed at Bayside Landing on September 8th, 2024. The reason this is being brought before you today, as opposed to handled as a typical use of the landings request or event request, our typical policy has been to limit events to a section of Bayside Bulkhead to preserve access for boaters who have paid lease slips and to boat trailers that have purchased trailer permits. This event, as currently proposed, would impact use of the landing for boaters. The event itself was held last year in the same fashion it's being proposed this year. However, last year it occurred on October 15th, this year being September 8th, the weekend after Labor Day. It could potentially have more of an impact to boaters in the area. At Bayside Landing, there's a total of 27 trailer parking spaces for permitted trailers. As part of this proposal for Bike Week, they would eliminate or use 16 of the 27 trailer spaces, so there would be 11 available on that day. They have included in their request an openness to provide personnel to coordinate access through the Bike Week activities for boaters to ensure they could get to the landing in the parking spaces. There's also a parking lot with 16 spaces that will be restricted for use. The map up on the screen, I tried to color code it to make it a little easier, but basically the red areas will be restricted for Bike Week, with the blue areas open for general use, and the folks from Bike Week committing to have personnel available to coordinate access to those areas through Bike Week itself. Given this is outside of our typical policy for approving, we deferred it to your discretion as far as the event.
I might suggest that we take this is their recommendation, this is the.
This is their request, yes.
This is their request. And that's, this thing's been going on for a lot of years. Last year wasn't the first time for this. It's been going on for a number of years.
Correct.
What I might suggest, and I understand the concern, what I might suggest is I would approve their request, but I would, if we could take and just send a notice to the slip holders, telling them what's gonna take place on that day. And make sure that they have somebody there to direct people to the blue areas. I think we'll be okay. I mean, that's a pretty big event that.
Yes, I included in the packet some photos from previous years. It is a very well-attended event, certainly.
It's a big event. It's a big moneymaker for the fire company.
Sure. And I think a week or two in advance, county roads could maybe put some signage up, the digital message board advising
Just let the slip holders know that there's gonna be some interruption on that day, and, you know, if they really want their boat, they'll make a way to get there or move it or whatever, but, I think we've worked it out all these other years. I don't see a big deal.
Okay, yeah, and we would, include in the messaging that.
But if they all knew the date that this was gonna take place, and that allows them to make plans, if they need to.
And residents who use permitted trailers may choose a different landing that day as well if they have proper notice.
Yeah. Anybody have?
No,
No, I think you're exactly correct.
I think everything you said was spot on, guys. We definitely want to see this.
Do we need a motion to,
Yes.
or entertain a motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve the use of the Bayside Marina and Bulkhead for the Bike Fest event on September 8th, 2024, subject to the following condition. The event organizer will have people at the entrance of the marina property to assist with access to the rented slips and boat ramp, and that the county issue some form of public notification to the slip holders that this event will be taking place.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you. And the next item I have on the agenda today is a proposed contract with Playground Specialists. Yes, Playground Specialists Incorporated. This is a LPPI, local Parks and Playground Infrastructure funded project, building off of some work that was done last year. The procurement is proposed to be done under an existing Sourcewell contract as a piggyback, as we have done with this vendor in the past. Basically, we're proposing a total of 16 benches throughout Wharton Park. As you may recall, last summer, we removed the old playground, demolished the old playground, and built a new playground that has two separate areas, a younger child area and an older child area. We would be proposing 2 benches in each of those areas, with 12 additional benches surrounding the walking loop in Wharton Park. Additionally, after observing the usage of the playground over the last 9 months or so, one idea was raised of a more inclusive playground setup for children who may have disabilities. And after consulting with this vendor, there are some what they call skill and sensory panels that you can see on the screen. I can tell you I have 2 small children that don't have disabilities, but they do love playing with these things, and they're all built to ADA appropriate wheelchair heights. Some of the sensory items are shown to be conducive to children with autism and other type of intellectual disabilities as well. These will be put inside the existing playground footprint. The total contract for these items is $35,100. As I mentioned, that is 100% grant funded. And we would be using a piggyback on the Sourcewell contract.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Playground Specialists Incorporated proposal 30930C in a total amount of $35,100 to be funded by existing local parks and playground infrastructure grant at Wharton Park.
I got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Another thing, just the granary has been, I rode up there, it's no longer there. Looks like they did a great job. I'm just curious, were we able to save some of the material, a little bit of the material that was there?
Yes, well, so the vendor who demolished the granary currently has all the wood. I have had several conversations with them about potential reuse of that wood, and they have set some aside for us. We've talked about a couple different things, be it making signposts out of it for a sign about the granary, or possibly repurposing it as a bench for the park. So I'm in coordination with them to discuss it. They are mailing the check that they owe us for the work that was done, and we'll coordinate the costs associated with possibly them refinishing the wood and using it to construct an item like that in the near future.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
It looks a lot different down there.
It does.
I also rode down there and took a look.
Yeah,
And you'll notice the area where the granary was, we actually, during demolition, it was evident that high tide got in under the floorboards regularly at that area. So it has been overfilled at this time, and it remains closed off to traffic. That's not our end game permanent solution, but we wanted to put more material in there than just bringing it to level, anticipating some settlement. And after a couple weeks, they'll come back and compact it and check how firm the ground is before we consider possibly tar and chipping the parking lot.
very good.
Thank you.
The next issue, I know has to do with our right-of-way down there in front of between Waterman's Crab House
Yes.
and the marina next door. And I know they've reached out to me, they've reached out to Commissioner Nickerson about and I remembered a lot of this from years ago when that was all land at one time, and when they went to dig it out, I was somewhat involved and I remembered that there was an issue with those parking spaces right across in front of Waterman's Crab House. Goes right down, and it's in front of there's some slips in front of those
Yes.
parking. Well, there's never been a problem until the marina was bought by someone else. Probably not aware of the stipulations, but I know when Commissioner Nickerson contacted you, I think what I read was that there's not enough, what's happened now is the marina has put signage up
Yes.
there preventing people from parking in it. And when I saw that, I remembered some discussion about that, and I knew that wasn't allowed.
Sure.
So I think you went down there and found that the parking areas, the parking spaces actually encroach somewhat on our right-of-way. Is that,
That's correct, yes. About approximately 5 to 6 feet of the parking spaces are within the county's right-of-way. So the marina does not have a true full-dimension parking space entirely on their property. It's, the entire run, about 5 to 6 feet, the closest park to the road, is within county right-of-way. That's based on the deeds for the right-of-way itself. I believe there was a 1955, one earlier, and then one back to like 1883 approximately. I went through those that consulted with our Public Landings Division, or Environmental Operations Division, and we don't have a written agreement on file that we could find discussing use of those parking spaces specifically. But I was able to locate the deeds for the right-of-way itself, and that did show a 30-foot right-of-way extending from the planter box, I believe, at the Waterman's Restaurant. So, like I said, about 5 to 6 feet of those parking spaces are within our right-of-way.
and also, I took the liberty of getting, this, Tom, you might want to take a look at this. Show the highlighted area, read that first highlighted area, and I think there's two other places in this, and this is the deed, Tom.
Yeah, says recital 21, declarant desires to grant an easement upon the parking parcel for the use thereof benefiting the Botel parcels and the marina parcel. Declarant desires to grant a temporary easement upon the parking parcel for the use thereof benefiting an existing restaurant known as the Waterman's Crab House, located on a certain parcel of land located in the town of Rock Hall, Kent County, Maryland, as more particularly described in Exhibit J, attached hereto and made a part hereof. Said parcel is hereinafter referred to as the restaurant parcel, only for so long as the restaurant operates in the existing building on the restaurant parcel. Then it goes on to talk about the Chesapeake Flyer, which was, I think, long gone. So
Right.
it appears to say that the declarant's plan is to have spaces used by the restaurant so long as a restaurant is operating there. That's my take on it.
Yeah, from what I understood, and I'm going to leave that with Tom and let him review it, but I think that points out that those parking places, that these new owners who were not aware of all this probably,
Sure.
never read those,
Yeah.
all that, they have put, the marina owners have put signs up there limiting parking to only the slip holders.
Yes.
Where the agreement was, and Tom can continue.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the cover of this. It appears that these are the declarations of easements and covenants of Rock Hall Landing, which is the marina complex. And this was put in place in 1990. So when the marina did this, they gave a temporary easement for parking for Waterman's Crab House, and I guess that it's temporary because it only lasts as long as there's a restaurant there, and of course, it's pretty obvious there's a restaurant there.
Right.
But these run with the land. I'd have to examine them. There's nothing on the face to show they've ever been repealed or rescinded, and I do know that declarations like this are pretty difficult to repeal or rescind. You have to go through rigmarole to do that, so.
And certainly both parties would have to be aware of it in order to rescind.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this document, it's multiple pages and it's lengthy, and it would not be unusual for whoever is operating the marina to not have examined this or
Sure,
gone through it, or not have been even aware of it.
That was my take from day one, that they bought the marina, and if you look at it, it would appear that those parking places probably went with the marina, but that's not the case. And in what you found out is some of what air right-of-way encroaches on those parking places by 5 or 6 feet, is that what you said?
Yes.
And was gonna be your recommendation to do what, if anything?
My recommendation would be that if there are issues between Waterman's and the marina, to remove the restriction that the marina had recently placed. I think that ultimately the county would have jurisdiction to declare that those parking spaces are not permittable parking spaces and have them removed. I don't think that's anyone's intention here. And I don't think that, personally, I don't think that serves the highest purpose. But it would be something I think legally justifiable. That said, I think if we were to simply request that they remove it, especially in light of this easement, then it would make sense to me. And whether we possibly, if needed, update that or create some memorandum of understanding between the parties and the county.
It's good that we're taking a look at it before that summer season and all that, well, now, I guess what I would suggest is just let Tom take that with him, and then he'll read it over, and, if we decide to do this, would we contact the marina and just let them know that what we found out?
Yeah, I think we can bring their attention to this declaration here. I mean, the language is pretty clear. It doesn't, just from what I'm looking, it doesn't say how many spaces. It just says that a temporary easement is granted on the parking parcel, which is, I guess, the land described along here where these parking spaces are, for use of the restaurant, as long as there's a restaurant there.
It seems pretty clear to me.
That's,
But like we said, I
yeah,
don't think.
that's my interpretation
When
of it.
when the new owners that just purchased the marina last year, when they bought it, I'm sure they, like you said, they didn't go through that to find out every detail about it, so
That would be my guess.
I would just suggest that we let Tom take some time to look it over real good. Once he's convinced, maybe we make the marina aware of the fact that those parking places are to be used in conjunction with the rest.
Yeah, I can coordinate.
Marina's on one side of our right-of-way and the restaurant's on the other side of the right-of-way. And I remember that conversation from when it all took place many years ago. And it was to share those parking places between the marina and the restaurant. And
Was there a time way back when the marina and restaurant were co-owned, or have they always been separate owners?
they've always been separate.
Well,
But
because.
see, remember now, that's where Hubbard's Pier Seafood used to sit. That used to all be land.
Right.
And they dug that
Dug it
all
out.
out, and there was quite a conversation about what we were gonna do about, what was gonna be done about parking down there, and that's why that stipulation that was put in there.
Right.
Because the restaurant was obviously worried that if they dug this all out, that they were gonna lose all that parking or the access to the parking. So it's my belief, and I kind of remember some of it, that was put in there. That's why I went back and
Right.
researched that deed.
Well, it appears we do have some leverage here, because if what Dan's saying is correct, I have no reason to believe it's not, that if we have 5 to 6 feet, it means we actually have part of the parking spaces.
Right.
So we can let the marina know that we have part of those parking spaces, and this is what we want to see, you know, that we bring this to their attention. We want to see this being honored, because we've certainly honored it over the years by allowing the parking there. I mean, we could have said to them, look, you can't control what you don't have, we have the 5 feet, and if they don't, it seems to me, if they don't utilize our 5 feet, there's not enough room there to park.
Right, a standard parking space is 18 to 20 foot long, and that dimension doesn't exist without using a portion of our right-of-way.
Right.
Now, once we decide to notify this marina of what we found out, should that letter come from maybe you, Tom?
I'm happy to sign it.
Or
It's
Dan,
your prerogative if you want to have it
Whatever
come
you
from
two
Dan or come
think.
from me.
I think obviously we just want to notify the marina that this is what we found out, and that,
If it comes from me, because I've given a legal opinion and analyzed it, it might, nothing against Dan, but it might carry a little more weight with the property owner if it comes from the attorney rather than the engineer. But that's up to you, and that's not a reflection of you not having knowledge, it's just.
No offense taken.
Sometimes if somebody
yeah.
gets a lawyer letter, sometimes if they get a lawyer letter, they know it's been to review, and sometimes
I
that
think there's some
induces
truth to
action a
that.
little
I
more.
sort of agree to that. That's why I was wondering if maybe it should come from you. We're not out to cause a lot of trouble, because
Right.
look, the restaurant and the marina have been sharing these parking places ever since that project took place way back
Right.
when. And it was always done, and nobody had a problem. Well, the new owners bought it. I'm sure one of the slip holders probably complained because I couldn't get backed up to my boat. And, they said, well, we'll put some, and that was just a,
That happens.
yeah, I mean, I think us making them aware of what we found out they might just go ahead and take the signs down.
If you would prefer as an initial step and show of good faith, I could place a call to the marina
Yeah.
and broach the topic in a friendly way and see if they're amenable to.
That's fine.
If that
too.
resolves it, then there's not
Then
need
we
for
don't
a
need a
letter from
formal
me,
letter,
but if
yeah.
you can do that, you can just let me know. I mean, if they're receptive and they say fine, then it just ends right there. There's no need to have a letter. If they're questioning it and saying, well, we have to talk to corporate or such and such, then I'll
Then
go
I'd
ahead and
pass
do
it
the
off,
letter.
yeah.
And before I send any letter out, I'll go over it with you to make sure it's accurate.
Very good.
Is there currently friction between the two?
No friction. The signs were put up last year, and I'm sure, I mean, I haven't talked to you, but to the marina, but I'm sure it was just like Ronnie said, the slip holder couldn't get right in front of their boat. But I think that they had asked them to remove them, and and I think they had pushed them down all the way. They removed about half of them, if I'm not mistaken, and then left the other ones. But I like the idea of.
I like what Dan just proposed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing against using an attorney's influence, but I think until we get a pushback,
Right.
Right.
it might be better to go with Dan's approach.
I agree. That's
Right.
comes across as a friendlier
Right.
way.
Friendlier way of
Yes.
Yeah.
trying to resolve or mediate an issue.
Right, and you just let me know how it turns out, so if the signs come down and it's good, I don't need to do anything. If there's some hesitation or hemming and hawing or flat out no, then I'll go ahead and send them the attorney letter.
Sounds good.
And you all can keep that. That's of no good. I mean, I don't, if you want to reference that, what's in that.
Yeah,
in
I
that
can
deed.
get this scanned in for Dan too.
Sure, and I will send you the deeds I referred to as
Yeah,
well.
perfect, so we'll
So the
have
way I
this,
understand it, the ultimate goal is to see the signs come down.
right,
And have this as a shared space as it has been over the years.
correct.
Yeah,
And we would
exactly.
continue to allow parking in our right-of-way.
I mean, because, you've got the restaurant open now and the boats aren't even overboard and all them spaces are sitting there empty. And you'd be surprised how many people will pull in there and then see that sign and they back out and leave. And the restaurant certainly don't want them leaving, so.
Absolutely.
Anyhow, I think once we point out that it was just a mistake, that somebody didn't understand where their property line was or something, I'm hoping that it'll all be fine.
My experience is when property owners get a multi-page document with, several pages of covenants. When they buy property, they don't sit there and carefully go through them one by one.
No, that's for sure. Okay,
All right,
very good.
thank you.
Dan, before you leave,
Absolutely.
can you give us a real brief update on the site plan work for the EMS building? What stage we're at?
Yes, we are finalizing the package for bid. I'm sending over some items to IT to make sure any of their considerations are incorporated in the design-build package. But we are very close to advertising.
Is there a date when our contractual person that we've hired to take care of some of these projects, when is he start?
I don't think this is one of the projects listed, is it?
The police
No,
building
I'm
would
not,
not be.
I
No.
wasn't
Oh, okay.
asking
Oh,
for that
separate
reason.
subject. Okay.
I just was curious
We're
when he's supposed to
finalizing
start.
that right now. In fact, Jim has been working on the contract. Jim slipped out, but, and then you will see the contract, and then we can get it rolling.
But is there an estimate, I mean, will it,
I don't know if we have an estimated date, as soon as possible.
As soon as possible,
Is-
yes.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, did you want to speak did you want to address us? I mean, I know you're not here, I know you got better things to do than come sit these meetings, but
I don't know, this is a reprieve from the complaining for the last couple of weeks, so this is good.
I'm sorry.
This is a reprieve from the complaining I've been having to deal with, so this is peaceful.
Oh, okay, all right.
When I see Millington, anything about Millington on the agenda, I try to get a council member to attend, and they tend to look at me and say, you can go, so I'm here.
I got you. I see what you're referring to right now, okay. Shelley?
Okay. I have a few items on the agenda, but it's just been brought to my attention that there's something else that needs a little housekeeping. And that is, on April 2nd, you had made a motion to purchase an updated software package called CourtSmart for the circuit court. And between the budget work session and the meeting that night, they had received an updated quote. So you had made the motion and it was passed for $31,577 to be used from contingency, but the updated quote is $34,097 for a difference of $2,520. So the question is, will you approve the updated amount to include that $2,520 to be used from contingency for the circuit court to move forward with that initiative?
Anybody have this?
I don't want to, but I don't think we have a choice.
I was hoping to get it for the cheaper price,
Right,
but inflation, I guess.
the bridge.
I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the $34,097 for the CourtSmart software program for the circuit court.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. They'll be able to move forward with that right away. Second, or I should say, first official item that I have for you today, we get this request every year from the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD. They request that we transfer our portion of the annual housing bond allocation to them so that they can roll it out. And what they do is they issue bonds and they run programs on behalf of the Kent County residents. And this is pretty typical statewide, so they've requested that we allow them to use our allocation. This coming year's allocation is $845,250 to them so that they can roll out the programs.
Anybody have any questions?
Where does this money come from?
They issue bonds.
Okay.
We've never used them in Baldwin. We've never used them, but, I'm not,
We don't have a program in place to use them either, so it's kind of a win-win to let them.
Any other questions?
I have none.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of the 2024 bond allocation to the Department of Housing and Community Development as requested.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, second item on the agenda for discussion is something that we have discussed during our budget work sessions. Our Board of Elections rental space is up for renewal at the end of this fiscal year. Ms. Blake from the Board of Elections has requested that we seek other property, perhaps with a bigger footprint than the current 3,000 square feet for the next lease. So the letter that is included in your packet is the standard letter that we receive from KRM every time we have a renewal coming up. But I'm guessing, based on the conversations that we had, that we are not going to renew this, but we're going to pursue the other option that has been discussed. And if that is the case, I have asked Will Albright with KRM if we can go on a month-to-month basis until the new space is ready. So we can do that. They have approved that. So with that in mind, are there any questions or?
I don't think there's any need for any action at this point, knowing that we're going to, if we're looking at the space, they definitely need a little more space. Don't know that they need the square footage that they've requested, but because there's an opportunity to build up in this new space,
Correct.
which I think is a good idea.
So the space that, in particular, that we're talking about is the 4,500 square foot space. Apparently, there are other spaces available, but the 4,500 square foot space at the old
And
USA
they got
fulfillment.
3,000 now, right?
Right.
So it's an increase of, it would be,
Of 50%.
they would be half as much as they have in addition, a new place would, so anyhow.
With the ability to go up
Yes.
on the second floor.
So what we're doing today is just making a motion to
Actually,
go on a
no,
month-to-month.
there's, I mean, you could define, to formalize it, but right now, we're not going to renew this lease, assuming we're moving forward in this vein, and KRM is just
Would a month-to-month
asking.
do it, or do we need 60 days? What happened? Because a month-to-month is KRM could say, 30 days, you have to be out of there, and if the new space isn't ready within 30 days, then we've
The
got
new
to...
space is KRM space as well, so.
So they control that, okay.
Right.
So they're not gonna, they're gonna
They're not
keep
gonna,
us,
they're not gonna kick us out, right, Kate?
yeah, I would say it would be in their best interest to keep us
Correct.
in their space till the other space is ready.
Absolutely.
So that answered my question.
Very good. Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we do not renew the current rental agreement, and that we ask that it be month to month until the new space is prepared and ready to be moved in.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Very good.
And I have two items for a report out to you. The first is the sheriff's office has found a grant which could potentially pay for half of 5 body armor purchases. In the FY '25 budget request, they had requested $4,000, but have since found this grant. They did need to submit it by Friday, but they are requesting approval to accept the grant if awarded. The grant total would be in the amount of $3,627. So our match would be the same, $3,627, for a total capital investment of $7,254. And again, this would be in FY '25. They had requested $4,000 for the replacement of certain body armor pieces. And so this is actually a little bit less than their budget request. So assuming you were going to move forward and grant that request for the budget, this is a good opportunity for us.
I'll entertain, any questions? Entertain a motion.
Body armor is something that is required, and I know that all three of us are in agreement. So I'd like to make a motion to approve and sign the certified assurances and certification regarding lobbying, which will allow the Kent County Sheriff's Office to submit a grant application for FY 2025 body armor for local law enforcement, and if the grant award is offered, to accept the grant and the funds.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
And finally, on April 6th, you had signed a letter that basically redirected the Rural Maryland Economic Development Fund funding from the Wharton Infrastructure Project to the Millington Elementary School project. After reviewing the letter, there was some additional clarification / information needed. So that letter has been drafted and it did need to be signed and submitted. So this is a report out on the item that had been signed.
Then any questions? Now I would entertain a motion.
If it's just a report out.
Yep, you don't need a
Oh,
motion?
we don't need to approve this new letter?
Correct.
Okay. Very good.
I do have a question, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but we have some other funding that was allocated that we need to decide what we're going to do with it. Has to do with the KR entrance. And don't know, we're kind of on a timeline there. We certainly don't want to lose the funding. We're certainly committed to what we initially, or what the former Board of Commissioners thought was in the best interest of the county to continue with, but it's my understanding that that may not be happening now, and don't know kind of where we're at, and don't have to have an answer right today, but being so Kate's here, we would like to get some type of commitment one way or the other so we can decide what we need to do.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a lengthier discussion than me just answering it quickly here. We've had talked with Shelley about it. I don't know how you want to, I can go deep into it if you want, but what do you suggest, Shelley? I mean, we've talked about this.
Is Karen Dixon ready to, we had talked about a formal proposal or idea of how to move forward. I don't know if you've developed that or.
It will not fall within the time, that project, if it is changed, will not fall within the timeline for the Upper Shore Regional Council dollars.
Okay.
It's just impossible. We don't even have it from the state now for the original, the state highway. So,
I'd recommend working with Jamie and she can bring
yeah,
the.
which we're doing, yeah.
Right,
It's,
right.
If it can be reallocated, we certainly would want to do that, which we're trying to find things that maybe those dollars could be reallocated for something that doesn't need extensive approval.
Is that something, Kate, you think you might be able to bring back to us? You and Jamie come back in maybe a week or two? The reason
I'll let you know.
The reason why I'm saying is because if we don't move in one way or the other with this allocation of funds, we potentially could lose it,
Right, I understand.
and we don't want that to happen.
All right. We have letters for signature. That's just us. We've already agreed to that. This is a public comment, media review next. And, okay. Then,
Motion to adjourn.
yeah.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.